All right, good morning. Public Services and Facilities Committee meeting on Tuesday, February 11th, 2025, 9 a.m. I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that the press and the public have been duly notified in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. Our first order of business is the election of a chair and vice chair.
I'd like to nominate
have
Katie for
nominations?
chair.
Second.
Any discussion or?
You're doing a fabulous.
You're doing,
Oh,
yeah, you're doing a good
thanks.
job.
Appreciate it. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Vice chair,
Scott,
second.
aye.
All in favor? All right. Wow, that was the easiest thing we've ever done.
Blair.
We don't have any citizens' comments, but we do have Miss Susan Hill Smith is right. You're not a citizens' comment. You're separate,
Correct.
I think. And we don't have
Correct.
any citizens' comments, is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
No, sir. No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, in that case, Susan Hill Smith is going to come and talk to us about the public dock interpretive sign proposal. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. and
Now that the
giving-
dock is officially
You're right.
open,
So I think in your packet you have an outline of the proposal. And then I've added to it, but I don't think you have these pictures. That if you're welcome to look at examples of the signs. And at the end, there's some pictures of the dock just for reference. But this, I think, has a lot of potential to really add value to the experience at the public dock and a lot of potential wins. And I'm not going to go through all of this. Under the goals, expands on the reasons why we would want to do this for the community. And then I've laid out an action plan for how we could pursue this. I'm glad to donate my skills as a writer and editor and content creator. But Laura Levens, the chair of the Environmental Advisory Committee, when I recently mentioned this to her, she was glad to offer her professional skills and her training as a South Carolina master naturalist to collaborate. And I would suggest that we have review with the Environmental Advisory Committee, and if to the degree that this committee would like some review and City Council would like a review of the project along the way, I think that would be beneficial. I've highlighted some areas where I would like some feedback from you all, given if you agree that this would be a good thing to pursue, that I would like to draw on the expertise of organizations like Barrier Islands Eco Tours, which is in that area and obviously is sharing that kind of knowledge already. As experts, it's along with the aquarium, maybe coastal expeditions, but they're not in that space anymore, and DNR. And in addition, we could add them to at least one or some of the signs as sponsors, potentially in return for their expertise, but maybe if they or some of the businesses at the marina would like to add
I think that's a great idea.
donations,
I think that they.
support them that way as sponsors.
Maybe talk to Alex and Rod, or I think was Rod Turns, now Alex Stone, maybe some members of the chamber, put it out to them and see if they might want to
Yes.
do a sponsorship, but
Yes.
I've seen these in other areas and sponsorships are big, so
Yeah.
I think that would be fantastic.
There's, on one of those examples, you can see they've added, just like at the bottom of the sign in a small way, some of the sponsors for whatever that particular project was. I can spot University of Georgia as one of the sponsors that was listed. So that was one thing I wanted feedback on. And then just some guidance in talking to Desiree. I think she said that this maybe is something that the city would apply for ATEX funds, that there's a process for, that seems like a natural ATEX fund project, similar to from that same set of money that Mary Alice Monroe's project drew from. I don't know if maybe that's still available with some money in that fund
I think the
currently.
window's open right now for applications, and you might want to get with Rebecca Kovalich.
It's
She's
only
the-
open until Friday.
It's what?
It's only open until Friday.
Oh,
Well,
Get on
we
it.
got a week.
well, I've got a proposal.
But
3 days.
maybe put that in there, and I think just as even a courtesy, it might be worthwhile just talking to them, but they, yeah, I don't know, I don't think the city would request A-tags, we have A-tags, we can allocate it, but yeah, I think that would be a good avenue to give it a try.
Okay. We can jump on that, I guess, maybe. And then, yeah, so if that's the case, would that be money that would become readily available before FY '26? Does anybody?
If they, 50,000 sponsorship is something that becomes available July 1.
Right.
Okay.
If that's where,
Next,
if that's the avenue.
next fiscal year.
Okay. It would be helpful in terms of how fast we could accomplish this, if some funding at least for content creation. Like, I'm happy to donate my services, but we need to get graphic design services and maybe want to reach out to some of the sign companies that are featured in some of these examples. I think they might be able to really help us make sure that this is well put together, and from a graphic design and from just the signs. There are a couple of companies that do this from both sides of the coin. They help with the graphics and they also make the signs themselves. So, and so they might require some funding earlier, along the way before we actually make the signs.
Do the companies, I mean, I'm sure that the sign companies do the graphic design stuff also, right?
Yes, that's what I
Yeah,
meant.
yeah, okay.
There's two national companies that do this. Some of those examples here are from those two companies, and I just, copied images from their site. I included some pictures of local and places that I visited, just, took pictures of the signs because I thought they were good examples. But I've also tried to include examples of different presentations and placements within here. So not necessarily all of these are things that I think are amazing graphic design, but to present,
What it could
like,
actually look
yeah,
like.
where they
Yeah.
could be placed. There's a lot of options, so that's something we would need to sort through. And then the other question, which I think I've kind of realized after talking to Desiree and Douglas, I went to the site already with Kelly Messier, who is the landscape architect who originally proposed how to do the an option for doing the green space down there a few years back, to get her thoughts on placement and making sure that we're not overwhelming the site and that we're a value add and not a detraction. We realized there's a lot of space that we can work with, so I don't think that's a big concern. And she suggested that between the two sets of swings, there's about 38 to 40 feet where she thought maybe a freestanding sign could be good. However, in talking to Desiree and Douglas, they pointed out that it's maybe good to keep that area open for gatherings, for maybe yoga or meditation class. So when I was at the site with some people at the public dock opening, we talked more about having like what I would call a cornerstone sign, large sign that may be more freestanding and not on top of the railings, maybe at this first swings. But you were there, we were talking about, this doesn't really, if you put a sign there, it wouldn't really block any good views from the people who are sitting in the swings. They would be looking back towards the parking lot
Would
otherwise.
block the parking lot.
Maybe a value add. Maybe we could put something on both sides, but this could be more of a welcome, setting the stage sign.
Attached
That's
to the rails
larger.
at all or anything? Attached to, sometimes you're looking up and you attach.
Well, that's
to
what I
the
think
rail.
that, yeah,
The majority, I think we would put on the railings, but this would be maybe a larger sign that kind of introduces, the dock. And obviously, there's a lot of content we could cover that I have included in the proposal, talking about nature, but also geography, about a little bit of the natural history of the area, and setting it the placement of it within the intercoastal waterway. And then also celebrating and explaining the salt marsh ecosystem, which is something we probably don't give enough attention to. It would be really beneficial from an education and conservation standpoint. So I think that's about it. I mean, I can go into more detail, but I have in this, so if you have any questions or want me to go into.
So what do you think our, like, what do we think our next, what do you need from us, and then what would be the next steps to actually, like, because I know you talked about taking it to the environmental committee. Do we need to do that? I mean, do we just
I guess, yeah, the
get
question.
funding? Do we start getting prices? Like, where, how do we, I mean,
I can-
do we want to move forward, first of all?
Yes,
Is
that
the-
would be
Is
the
the
first.
committee
I think we should-
in agreement that this is?
I'm supportive of it. Yeah, I think it's just maybe the next steps would be get with the, I think you said mentioned Laura's involved and just kind of map it. This seems like the concept, maybe map out what's your plan and timeline and what do you need along the way, and then bring that back and we'll get on it and bring it to council and go from there if we have to, if we even have to.
I think from just kind of a high level, and this is the first step of the process, it would be good to know, you know, as Katie said, do you all support it? Do you like the idea? I think if there's any pushback to it, we always kind of hear negatively when we put signs out, that we're the aisle of signs, and that, you know, the signs become they detract more than they add. So before we kind of go down a process of creating you know, a program to add signs, just want to be sure you all are on board with it, you're okay with it. I think as it's drafted, it's, you know, it's a fair number of signs, so it would be 10-ish signs kind of around.
And
with-
that's flexible. I mean, I would almost say it's more appropriate to call them displays than signs. I think the blowback that you usually hear about signs is typically traffic signs and things that
Yeah,
are.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
kind of
no signs.
attention
and-
getting rather than kind of.
And this
trying-
is, but at the same time, I would want to be very cognizant of the impact that we're having on the area and make sure that we are doing it. There's some placements that you'll see, you know, where it's not totally in your face. It invites you to come look at it, but
Would Kelly be open to maybe just doing a quick mock-up of what it might look like? Because you're right, 10 to 12 signs, that's a lot of signs in that area.
it is, although if you look at the map that I think is included in your packet.
Well, this
I
is-
don't think it is.
Well,
Oh.
this is just the soon-to-be layout.
Yeah.
We don't have the
Okay.
map, but,
Well, in terms
but I was
of-
just looking at
yeah.
that because
Giving you
there's
an idea of the
also,
spacing.
you know, there's the dock itself, but then there's also the boardwalk area. And so
Yes,
we
and-
talked about possibly
And if I didn't make that clear, this would be
the whole,
looking at the whole area, not
Yeah.
just the dock itself, but definitely that walkway, which then gives you a lot of space.
I just think seeing even a rendition helps, because then if the signs go up and everybody goes, well, wait a minute.
Yeah,
Because
so if you all are generally agreeable, I think Susan and Laura and the Environmental Advisory Committee can work to find out, to kind of figure out placement, design, content, and then come back with a you know, with a plan that basically would show you where they are and what they would look like. But just didn't want to put, you know, before we did that work, just kind of want to had your
but you're,
guidance on.
did you, Blair?
You know, at some point, we need to go to the ATAX committee, don't we?
Yeah,
We
it
don't want
sounds,
to hopscotch over them,
No,
go
we
straight
talked
to
about, yeah.
council.
yeah.
But then, I mean, I guess, so the funding part of it, there's potentially on Friday getting,
Well, no.
applying and
That's just the
I mean,
application.
I mean, the
deadline.
application, but like, potentially we could try for that. We could ask if that, I guess if that doesn't work out, then ATAX or
Well,
no?
Oh,
Can I
this
ask
is
Doug-
ATAX,
Can I
isn't
ask
it?
Douglas?
Sure.
They're not that ATAX sponsorship money is for an organization, and this is not an organization. Like, she's not an organization, Environmental Advisory Committee is an organization, you guys aren't, right? Like, these are nonprofits
can't-
applying, so
so we're
I don't
not-
think that's the appropriate avenue.
Okay.
There's
That's-
ATAX money, and that's a separate conversation
Right.
within a budget.
Right, I think you all could allocate ATAX money.
Okay.
Yeah, even
as the
a-
council.
So it comes
Yeah,
back to-
Even as a courtesy, I'm kind of with Blair. I just don't think we ought to maybe just have a conversation with them. That would be all right, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so not a need to rush for an application then?
It sounds like Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds like
So it
that
sounds
doesn't
like the
qualify
next
for
step would be
what you're
then-
saying. It's not really a qualification.
It is not.
Okay, it's a
I
non-qualified.
think Desiree had mentioned that the city could potentially be the organization to apply for the funds, but it does seem like you also have the opportunity to just,
So maybe the
With, like,
next
your ATAX
step
budget.
then for, is maybe parallel steps to go to environmental advisory and then the ATAX and funding and more design specific and then,
do you want me to, we'll talk about going to ATAX committee together? I
Yeah,
mean,
that'll be fine.
if you want to let me know.
Yeah.
And then, I know that I can present all of this to the Environmental Advisory Committee on Thursday, or we can just touch base with them on it and then come back to them with a more detailed.
March 12th is the ATAX.
I mean, and the Environmental Advisory
then-
Committee is meeting this Thursday. I can go ahead and give all
Yeah,
this
yeah.
to them at that point.
You're on that agenda.
Yeah, for other reasons, but yeah, I didn't want there to be too much of me.
Never be too much.
But yeah, thank you. That I appreciate hopefully enthusiasm for the project. I think, like I said, we'll try to be very cognizant of making this an enhancement and not overwhelming the site. And we will look at all of those things in placement, making a plan for placement. So. And I think you all just are unveiling a
book walk,
Book
and some
walk.
of our book walks, our book walk design does look like some of the pictures that are in there.
yeah. So I might want to ask you about your sign experience. So, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you,
cool,
Susan.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next order of business. Approval of previous meeting minutes. It was a long time ago. November 6th of 2024 was our last meeting.
Motion to approve?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No old business, new business, discussion with Dominion Energy regarding the NSSF fund for undergrounding master plan.
So we have Zach with us here from Dominion, and come on up, Zach, if you don't mind.
Welcome.
The staff has met with Dominion about kind of, their process, the availability of these funds for various different projects, including master plan. That idea, I think Blair came up with at your last meeting and wanting to discuss that. So talked to Zach about that. Wanted to have him here for you all to just ask questions and for Zach to kind of go through really the process of how you will, how the money becomes available, how you will decide what projects to fund and
Right.
what that fund can be used for.
Right. Yeah, so I'm Zach Swalha. Nice to meet all of you. I'm the new manager for Mount Pleasant Crew Quarter that covers Isle of Palm, Sullivan's Island, up to McClellanville, and Daniel Island, Clements Ferry. So like Douglas said, I met with him and Desiree probably back in September
Yep.
timeframe, and we discussed the non-standard funds, kind of the process that goes with that. I don't know if y'all want me to just do a quick highlight of kind of how that process all lays out and works, or if y'all had specific questions already ready, or.
I think a
Okay.
highlight would be helpful.
So our non-standard service fund is a match of, and Liz, you can correct me if I'm wrong, on basically there's a certain amount of money and it's a rolling period of 5 years, correct? So money that you guys would put up money and we would match that money to go towards these non-standard projects. And non-standard projects are all encompassing of any of the overhead to underground conversions, to how we get to properties, but typically it's the overhead to underground projects that we've been requested of. So,
It's a 100% match.
correct.
Is there a limit on it?
The limit is from the 5-year rolling period, and we gave Desiree what y'all have in your non-standard service fund amount. I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, and we can get you updated ones. But every year, the last fifth year back falls off, and then you get the next year. And if you use it, great. If not, then it falls off. So
Use it or lose it?
correct. I know we've had questions from town of Mount Pleasant and Sullivan's Islands as well, you know, thinking that you're just completely losing out on the money, but you're also you're not paying any money too. So you have to put up, you know, your part, and we match that as well. So.
But our lines still stay up in the air.
Right. So we, with that process, so if we identify a project, and with identifying a project, it's, you know, all on, you guys have the final say on what you would like to do. We will definitely have feedback on helping identify, you know, critical areas of infrastructure, and that's either critical to our infrastructure and our usability versus, you know, the visual aspects that you guys, I think, get more feedback on with, you know, us coming and cutting trees or whatever it may be. So we can definitely work together on finding what the hot spots may be to better use the funds. I know a lot of the time we can kind of go down a rabbit hole of identifying projects, spending money and time on designing them, and then you've spent all the money for that time period, and then you don't have money left over to actually proceed with the construction, and then those plans and everything get outdated, and then you're back to square one. So we've seen that happen before too. So we definitely, on the forefront, we want to identify and kind of concentrate on more centralized areas like this 14th Avenue conversion that just happened. I know we've got the 41st has been designed as well and talked about. So kind of.
I feel like 41st though is one of those that you just described, that we've bitten off more than we can chew, is what it sounds like for 41st. So I
Right.
think our thought was, let's step back and move to areas that we can actually be
Right.
successful.
Right.
And the ones that, like Blair's point, you know, when we have a storm, what are the most susceptible areas?
Right.
And then the tree situation in the last couple of months, find some spots where we can actually have some success.
Right, right, yes. So definitely if we can concentrate on, I guess, more defined areas and maybe not as big as 41st. And like I said, we can look at the numbers you have in the non-standard service fund, compare them to concerns that y'all have heard on your end, and then also we can bring in our side of like where the most critical areas are and find good projects to work on and go and, you know, start to finish them as well.
So do we have to use the specific funds in that's allocated a specific year within the specific year? Or could we say, hey, we got this big of a pot over the 5 years and use it all? Or, you know, I don't know how, I think it's hundreds of thousands. We don't have millions of
I think it's
dollars in there. So
Close
it's not
to, I think it's around
yeah,
400,000.
so it's not a big pot of money.
Right. Yeah, so you can use that 5-year amount that you have. If you haven't used anything, you can use all of it to, you know, this year, and then, you
Gotta
know.
wait 5 years. Yeah.
Correct, yes.
What determines what money goes into that fund? Like,
I
where's-
believe it's, Liz, is it based off number of customers, or it's off of, I'm trying to remember what it's based off of. You know, yeah. Well, we can double check on that, where
But
that
it's not something
calculation
that
comes
we
from.
necessarily have control over. Like, we couldn't decide as a city that we want to put $1 million into it.
No,
Okay.
no, no, that program, I believe it's just based on number of customers that are over here that we serve, and
Okay.
we just agree to match the amount that you guys put
But
up.
that 400 equates then to 800 in project
Correct.
leverage if we can match it up.
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Is there any merit to the idea, I mean, I don't know, this 400, how much do we get annually? You know, is it in rough numbers?
100,000.
Yeah, I bet say
100,000,
100,000.
So is there any merit, if it's 100,000 we get annually,
Mm-hmm,
to getting a master plan in place?
mm-hmm,
Do it prioritized like we talked about. And the city then goes and floats a bond to pay for it,
mm-hmm.
and we use the money coming in every year to pay the bond off. And we match it. So
Mhm.
we would front load the expense, get y'all to start working on that stuff. We've got a bond that's paying for it.
Right.
And then we're paying the bond off annually with the money that y'all put up and the money we put up.
Can we use that that's
Yeah,
a
can
great
we-
idea.
can we
Can we
do
use
that?
it for leveraging principal interest on a bond or, I mean, I don't,
I don't see issues with that from just listening to it right now. I'll definitely run that by, you know, my bond boss and everything too, but I don't see an issue. That's definitely a great idea.
I mean, if that works,
Mhm.
we then do a master plan, and I'm making up numbers, obviously, let's say it's $20 million. We go float the bond to $20 million, and then we set up the payments based on what y'all put up, we match it every year.
Right.
And that goes out to the bondholders.
Right.
You know, I know that we've had, well, and particularly the Water and Sewer Commission has issues with bonds when there's, the issuing agency is very concerned about the guarantee of the money being available.
They got a lot of money.
And I don't know if they could get comfortable that this money is guaranteed to be available and will
Right.
always be available for
Yeah.
20 years into the
Right.
future.
And that,
Yeah.
but
That's
those
been
are
a-
the questions, we need to answer those
That's-
questions and see if that works.
That's probably
100
more.
grand would get us probably what, maybe 2 million and up to, $1.5 million or 2 million of leverage opportunity maybe.
Yeah, it's
if I
3.5%,
4 or
4%
5%.
is what you're getting right now on tax-free bond. But, I mean, if we can do that, then we're not piecemealing it, and
Right.
the problem just perpetuates.
Right.
Right, and we would also have more of a laid out plan, which I feel like would be better for y'all too, because then it
Definitely.
would be more of like a,
Yeah.
5 years down the road, this is what we're gonna be doing, and, it
Right.
wouldn't be like a, oh, let's do this today.
Right.
And
Just for sizing, how much does a, $500,000 of project money get us? Is that we can't do.
5 feet.
I mean, I'm just trying to realistically, like you said, we got design, you got construction, you
Right.
got all that stuff, and
I think-
materials and labor, and
41st was 900,000
to do the whole.
to
okay,
do,
the whole
to do
smash.
all, and it was really from the marina up to, is that Wildwood? The,
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah,
Forest-
just Wildwood. Yeah.
To Forest Trail, basically.
yeah,
On it, yeah.
yeah. So that was
There's a lot
approaching a million.
A lot of wires there.
There's a
Yeah,
lot.
Right.
and
yeah, there's a
so
lot
much
going on. It feeds,
on.
it feeds Goat Island right there. So that was,
Right. That was the big part, was the feed to Goat Island as
Yeah.
well. Just more equipment that we need to use that's more expensive too, so.
If we're feeding Goat Island, can we talk to Mount Pleasant?
Be Charleston.
Charleston County?
Charleston
Use some
County.
of their
I thought
funds,
they
yeah.
were in Mount Pleasant.
No.
No,
When you
they're
talk to Charleston County for
unincorporated.
some money.
I don't think they care how they're fed. I don't think they,
Well, they don't want electricity. They just got the feed.
I don't know that they would care. if
But I mean,
they're-
I think that's actually a pretty positive to me, if that whole, because it's a pretty big space,
Yeah.
and it's a really
Complex.
complicated space.
Right.
So if we're talking 900, if we went to just like a, an avenue
Mhm.
that's got one power line running straight down the street,
Right.
I mean, it feels like we could do that for, the whole avenue for, 500,000, whatever. I mean, so
Right.
like,
Yeah.
That-
Typically, what I've seen, if we're just doing design stuff, it's probably 100,000 starting with, and then it really depends on where you're at and what we have to do. Because, like you said, we could just have one line, and it might just be a single phase line, or we've got switch gears and more transformers, and if we've got to convert voltage for customers and stuff like that. So
It's more complicated.
Yeah, it's hard to give a dollar amount to a footage amount.
Right.
Yeah, I
But-
think our last two, we had a project at 21st and then a project just wrapping at 14th.
14th.
I think each one of those kind of brought down 2, 3 poles and were in the neighborhood of $100,000. They're going under roads, there's boring involved,
Mhm.
there's a few poles come down, so kind of rough order of magnitude, you get the feel for what like an intersection costs, and then you do occasionally get the big jobs like at 41st where it's 15, 20 transformers and major infrastructure feeding Goat Island.
Right.
Are there areas on the island too that may, just again for expectations that are really not conducive for undergrounding that we'd want to identify in a master plan that they're either too, low elevation wise, we got to hit the water, all kinds of, or other infrastructure that it might conflict with or things of that
There might be
nature?
other infrastructure, I don't know off the top of my head, but I don't think there'd be too low of elevation for us to bore under and go. So, I mean, we've got lines that are underground cable, like marine grade cables too, that just float in the water as well. So I don't think being too low elevation or anything would affect that, but other utilities, yes. And kind of continuing the process. Once, funds are there, we do the design work, and then we start getting into, in between design and construction phase, we've got to get easements and right-of-way, and we don't put our stuff in the public right-of-way, it'd be on private, so that's always been another contested area where, if I'm a homeowner here, and I don't have a pole in my yard right now, but so be the design, it has to have a new green box there in their yard. It's very hard to convince that homeowner to sign an easement for us to put a transformer or a switchgear or whatever, green box device we need to put there, and they've never had, an above-ground structure on their yard before. So that's kind of, that's where we really get hit hard with trying to move along these projects. So, and we don't buy easements or, do trades or anything like that to persuade people. It's just if they sign off on it or not, so.
Yeah, that has been kind of a driving force in our hierarchy of projects too, is the ability to get the easements, to get the projects done. Zach is saying, it gets very challenging down just a residential neighborhood to get agreement to have one of these green boxes on what is currently your property.
And some people, they love it. They're like, yes, get the overhead lines down, save my trees, completely get it, and they want to sign right away. But then you have people who realize that they're the ones who get the box in their yard, and, the neighbor who didn't, they'll sign, but they won't, so.
So we can't put the boxes like specifically where the palm trees are just about to hit the power lines?
We can definitely work with what we have, and we will try and make it the best design possible, but at the end
You're
of the
either
day.
gonna lose your palm tree or you're gonna have this box.
Right. Yeah, at the end of the day, it comes to, there's gonna be a green box,
Right.
so. And I have a document too, I can send you as well to share of all of our, underground devices that are above grade structures, just to show footprints and that, so. But that's.
So,
Is
Is there a starting point for, obviously we need to look into this bonding issue, but I don't know, maybe looking at the mapping of where the trees were cut and, kind of going with something like that to say that like these are areas that, we obviously, I would think from y'all's perspective also, the fewer oak tree, it's a time-consuming and
definitely.
expensive process for
Yes.
y'all too, so to try to find some of those areas that are,
I think first be the most vulnerable places from a wind perspective, from a storm perspective. And
Right.
I'm sure 14th and right in this area is a big part of that, so that we minimize power outages and
That's right.
storm. That's the ultimate goal.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
who's
we-
gonna get impacted the most? and-
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I would assume also the ones that, where the trees are super close to the power lines is also gonna be
Yeah,
more.
Unless it's going down one road and you're impacting two trees.
Well, that's true. But I guess I'm thinking that a lot of these, that it's the tree that typically in our storms takes out the power line.
Right.
So,
Yeah, no, you're-
And should we, I guess, I don't know if we're gonna talk budget today, do we have the money allocated in our budget to do the match? I don't know where that, I don't know that I've seen that, where that is residing, we may or may not, but it sounds like if we have the funding, do we wanna allocate a match every year, do we wanna allocate a chunk of it? I don't know the answer to that, I guess that goes on the plan of the project.
So-
But we should put something aside, yeah.
So just kind of hearing the discussion, I think that Blair's question about kind of front-loading, borrowing a large chunk on the front end and then repaying the bond with this money, that seems to be kind of one path. And
Worth
if that's,
pursuing, yeah.
if that's an option, I think we would come back, report to you whether it is or isn't, and see what we can do down that path. And then if that's not a viable path, I very much like the idea of having, I feel like the city has kind of bounced around a little bit with our priority list, based on kind of a best guess of all these things: resilience, cost, constructability, getting easements. I think it would be a benefit to the city to have that list really kind of refined and have the outside help of a professional of, based on your criteria, we think this is your next 10, to 20 years of priorities and just start chipping away at that list. So I would suggest we get an answer to the bonding question first, report back on that. Depending on that answer, we kind of go down one path or the other, if that
And I think that
sounds
isn't a
to-
math equation. If we got 100,000 a year, 3.5, whatever the percentage, you could just see what we lever it up to.
Right.
And then use that as a matching. And you got to tell us if we can even use it that way.
Right, and I'll follow up
Yeah.
with that, yes.
And we'll get our bond attorneys to just opine on,
Mhm.
how likely it is for a bonding agency to do that with this fund.
Right. Okay.
So we can do that.
Yeah, I'll follow up and just see the details of the non-standard service fund agreement that we have and let y'all know about that. I do know, kind of concentrating on smaller, hit points or hot spots to work on has worked very well in the past for town of Mount Pleasant and other municipalities. So it's definitely, I guess next steps would be if you guys could get a list of what you guys are thinking about as hotspot areas, and then we can look at that list and also kind of have our list too, infrastructure-wise, and kind of, marry the two together and see what's the
I would
best.
think your list is more important because y'all know what
Okay.
goes out during the storm, then we can look at that and see if that makes sense.
And we can provide that, first if you guys want to see that first, okay?
That would be very helpful.
And that
Definitely.
that fund is on your books. It's not on our, I mean, we don't have visibility. We have to keep asking what the balance, or we have to look at the balance, or.
Yes,
It's
anytime
not
you
like
ask,
we
we
get
can.
an our account or anything.
Correct,
Correct.
yes.
Yeah, we ought to track that somewhere.
Yeah. Anything else?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you all.
That was
Thank
very
you,
helpful.
Zach.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Liz.
Carry on.
Yes, please.
All right, so next we have discussion for parking reconfiguration layout on the intercoastal side of the marina parking lot. So we've been dealing with this for 200 years now. And the latest and greatest idea was to take the square footage that the restaurant holds in basically 3 different portions and put that square footage together into one contiguous space. And then the city would keep the square footage that they have. And basically, we had the area directly in front of the restaurant was 100% restaurant. The area on the far, I always forget what direction that is. I guess it's basically west. Feels like south, but it's mostly west. Area was all restaurant also, and then we shared the middle part. So this that we're looking at now is somewhat of a, I mean, it's just a drawing, but we tried to make it look a little bit prettier. Purple would be the restaurant, white would be the city. We would have the full access to the public dock. We can make the area in front of the public dock more of like a green space with some picnic, some benches and some trees and then we have the boardwalk that goes basically all the way from what used to be the ditch to more or less the restaurant. We have, is it 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah, 7 trailer spots dedicated just for residents. I feel like we've gone through this so many times, and this is kind of the best result we could come up with. I think one of the issues that people have had looking at this is that the white space that's right directly in front of the public dock is city space. It's owned and, will be retained by the city. But it is in essence, it's a walkway into the green space, but it's also a driveway into the restaurant. And so I had thought potentially when we do get around to making the green space, that if we were to make that, I don't know, pavers or something that would make it flow better with the green space in front of the dock, that would make it look more contiguous and look better for the city. So, but the other advantage to this is that the restaurant has their space and we're not trying to share, we're not dealing with, arguing over who gets to park here when, and, the city has their space and we can do with it what we want, and the restaurant has that area and they can do whatever the heck they want with it, and it's not our, it's not our problem. So the, this,
On a square footage basis, is that cutting it up like the shared lot? We getting half the shared lot
Yeah.
and we're getting the other lot?
so basically, yeah, so
On a
that,
square footage basis.
so the way that, and this was my idea because I got just tired of trying to come up with fitting a square peg under a round hole. And so I said, why don't we just take the space in front of the restaurant, which is 100% theirs, the employee parking lot in the back left, which is 100% theirs, and do A plus B plus 1/2 C. So the middle part was, they get half of that and we get half of that. So that's where we come up with that square footage. It looks like, at a first glance, I think a lot of people say that it looks like the restaurant's getting a really large area. But when you think about the fact that they had, 2 full areas and 1/2 of another, it kind of makes sense.
Well, this is just how the math works out, isn't it?
It's, yeah, I mean, it is.
What it is.
It is what it is. And it's, going back, it's unfortunate that, the original leases down there were drawn out in crayon. So it's very hard to put, an official, a really good, an engineered drawing with perfectly straight lines when you are dealing with a lease that was drawn in crayon. So,
And the employee lot originally was controlled by the marina. And as I understand it, the marina gave up any rights they have to it. Is that correct?
no, that was the shared. The employee lot, the city signed a lease with the restaurant
For the employee?
to
Correct.
give them full 100% access to the employee lot until 2045 or something
Right.
like
Yeah,
that.
the employee lot is, that rent comes to us, but it is fully under lease to the
I'm
restaurant.
just from a legal perspective, I remember at some point in time, the marina had something to do with something.
That was
Yeah, and
the
that-
shared, the
That was
middle
the shared
portion.
lot. Under the old lease, the marina managed that lot, and had rights to it, and they just handed that over to the city.
And that's done from a legal
That's done,
perspective.
yes.
They can't come back and whine.
Correct.
So yeah, that middle portion that was, quote, shared among the tenants at one point is,
Right.
well, it is now shared among the tenants, but there's only 2. There's us and the restaurant. We're the only ones left. So we decided that it made sense to just split it in half. So I do know that from the restaurant's perspective, that this does check the boxes of deliveries. They can get the big trucks in and out. Other than that, we've just kind of left it to the restaurant to say what they want to do in that purple space. Because that was kind of the only thing that really mattered from our perspective was,
Well, the only other concern I have, I don't really care what the restaurant does with the purple
that's,
space.
yeah, I don't either.
But the traffic arrows that I'm seeing right now are suggesting that they're pushing trucks through the marina parking lot to get over there. Because I don't see on the left side that the trucks will be coming in and out that way. If that's true, we just need to have a check off or approval from the marina, because they're not gonna want us pushing 18-wheelers through their parking lot.
No, it's gonna go,
I mean, if everything drives
It's-
straight down the.
it's gonna go here and then it's gonna come out at the,
Yeah, I mean, if both are coming out this way, great, but it could be they're trying to do this.
no, it's not. It's coming, I believe it's coming out here. And that is gonna be like removal, like roped off so they can, and then they'd come
That's-
out through
That's
there.
the only,
That was because I think I was told that the idea is that the flow would be reversed for patrons versus ship deliveries.
Yeah.
And so I think that whichever way, I don't know, patrons would come in one way and deliveries would come in one way, but they would go in reverse
just wanted to
order.
make sure that if we're gonna do this, let's fix it so nobody's whining anymore.
Yes, that is the primary goal, to make it so that people stop
Yes.
complaining.
Blair, I think deliveries leave, they come in kind of adjacent to the green space, but I think they would leave via that road that
Where there's-
serves the,
Yeah, I'm just making sure everything comes
Yeah,
through
comes in
here.
and then leaves
you're
there.
not pushing this way.
Right.
That's-
But it
that's
was,
the
it was to
real
come out where those two weird, they look like spokes on a wheel.
that's
Those are
correct.
trees.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
Beautification.
that's correct. So they would do a big loop and
Looks like a
come
wagon
out.
wheel. So if we're good with this, if it makes sense to this group, then I would say we take it to full council and then see, and then if we all agree to it, then we could take it to the restaurant and see if it's something that they're willing to agree to. And this is version P, just so we can try to not go all the way through the alphabet.
Getting through it.
As long as we don't have to go back to double Q.
Pretty bad.
Although there have been some A's, B's, and, or there's been some 1, 2, 3s of some of the letters, so we're probably more than P at this point. So are we voting on this, or are we agreeing or disagreeing on taking this to council? What's our,
Yeah.
Send it to council.
Yep, if you all were to make a recommendation, the council consider it, we could put it on their next agenda. Not tonight, but full council,
okay.
28th? Something like that. 25th?
All right, well then, I would make a motion that we bring this recommendation to council.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, 25th.
All right. We are spending a lot of time on that part of the island. So, and honestly, I think options for authorized use of the public dock, there's been quite a bit of unauthorized use of the public dock. And there is a little sign out there that's kind of hard to see that says, use this for fishing, whatever,
I think it's about
gathering.
this big.
It's about that
It's
big.
up on the side, and you have to go look.
And it does not say, please do not drag your old used HVAC equipment to and from Goat Island on our dock. Which is what I saw someone doing the other day.
Sure.
And it also, I don't believe it even says no docking, even though we specifically did not put cleats on the dock because of that. People are really creative, and there are poles out there and other things that you can tie up to, so people have been doing that. So I just think we need a more, and maybe when we get the displays, especially if we were to do a large display in front of that one swing, you know, maybe on one corner of it, we could have the rules and suggested uses and non-uses of it on that display. I don't know.
At some point in time, it comes down to policing. And that's not, that's gonna be an extremely difficult thing to do unless you just put up a barrier so that you can't talk.
I don't know, I think Blair, and kind of to your point, that the signage down there is, and the dock itself is extremely inviting. The dock is a wonderful dock, it's got an unbelievably great ramp, its proximity to the dumpsters is the best it can be. There's no signage down there that is effective in any case at all. And, you know, I've personally seen the activity down, let's call it activity down there. The contractors are going in and out. It's basically an access dock right now for freight, construction materials, and dumping. It's very active. And that dock has taken some wear and tear that it was never intended to do. It was intended to take foot traffic. And we've got ramps and, you know, wheelbarrows and heavy equipment being, it's a delivery site. In defense to the people that are using it, it doesn't say otherwise. It's just an open,
Yeah.
it's
When
an
I-
open ballgame down
When
there.
I went down there, I was told by someone down there that there were people bringing HVAC equipment on and off the dock. And so I happened to be driving by, I went down there, I approached them and was like, hey, what are you doing? And they said they had no earthly idea. They,
Yeah, it's very
you know,
inviting.
their truck said Somerville, and they had come down and they saw this dock, and they were, and they, I mean, you know, maybe
beautiful-
they knew better, but they told me they had no idea, and so I was like, okay, well,
I do think there are signs that say, you know, that you can't moor down there on, and maybe they're on the dock.
It's really, it's incredibly small.
Small.
And, you know, if I'm objective about it, you know, I'd tie up like you know, as if I were parking in a space and go, you know, I didn't see that, it didn't say I couldn't. So it's really, we need either signage or police. I think some really heavy signage, and I don't know what, you know, what would the penalty be if you do use it on an unauthorized, but I don't think we can invoke any penalty unless there's adequate notification that that's not what it's supposed to be used
What
for.
are we wanting to allow on the, like, people on the dock and kayaks have to have?
It's a
access?
recreational dock, it's not a,
Well,
yeah.
but my point is, the easiest way to control it is to put a gate on the land side with some, you know, that makes it small, so you can't get big stuff through it.
Oh, I see what you're saying, a
You could
deterrent.
get, you could
yeah.
get a kayak through it maybe, and people, and nothing else.
Yeah, I mean, I know that dock specifically was ADA, you know, it's an ADA
So you
compliant
gotta have a
pathway.
wheelchair, yeah.
And I think it was spaced to get wheelchairs and equipment down there.
Yeah, that would start.
And maybe that's coming back to haunt us, but we specifically made it wide and accessible and
Yeah, but we could
for
put
recreation.
poles up potentially that's no wider than a wheelchair at the max. That would certainly help with HVAC equipment and, you know, and other things. It just makes it more difficult.
What do you-
And
what do
then-
you-
and
what do
then,
you
Of course,
think?
we're going to have officers just sitting there all day.
hey, it's not a bad spot to have to sit all day.
Yeah, they were definitely, you didn't have a place like that in Columbia to go sit, I promise that. We did put 2 signs up out there about no mooring, and we did that because we cannot enforce that without a sign. So you're 100% correct. We actually have a city ordinance 9-1-7, which talks about misusing public property. And as long as there are rules that are listed as to what they cannot do, I know nobody likes the no signs. I love no signs. They're very important to me because without the no signs, I can't enforce this ordinance. So we would need something that says you cannot do these things. And if you do, you are now misusing public property, and we can charge under our city ordinance, which has the same penalty as all the other city ordinances, $1,087 ticket and/or 30 days in jail, max penalties.
Chief, would something like what we have at the beach accesses? that
That's exactly
say,
what I'm
you know,
picturing.
know this, know this, know this. I mean, why don't we just look at putting up one of those somewhere proximity-wise that just,
I mean, there is a sign, it's right,
Yeah, there's a
there's a
land
sign,
side.
but it
no-
doesn't, and I can't I can't, I thought I had,
I think
I
you
thought I
put
had a
right next
picture
to
where
the
you could
entrance
actually read it, but I
with what-
can't.
yeah.
But it does not, because it doesn't specifically say no, like loading and unloading or
No
some
deliveries, yeah.
delivery, so, like some wording like that, that would, it does not say that. It says all kinds of other things, you know, like no swimming, no whatever, but like, it does not specifically say, no, I don't know. I think loading and unloading would probably be,
How about
You still
recreational
gotta
use only?
or yeah, recreational
Yeah.
use only.
Yeah, you
No
still-
commercial use.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, but like these guys were there for a long
I-
time.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I mean,
But
I think that the hair that you're gonna have to split is, I think we probably, if three guys were carrying a cooler down and they hop on a boat and go fishing, we probably wanna allow that, I
I
think.
guess that's where you go,
That's
the
recreational. Correct.
recreational use. Yeah, no
Three
commercial
guys
use, I
carrying-
think would be,
Well, I don't
We
know
want to
that's
have to look
commer-
in the cooler, yeah.
Three guys carrying an HVAC unit, we want to disallow. So, and I don't know if that's necessarily, I mean, I think that's a lot of kind of frontier type people who are carrying their own equipment on and off. So I think that's going to be the challenge is we're literally getting down to what they are loading and unloading. Unless we just want to say, you can't, you know, if you're going out to fish, you can't, like, don't pull up a boat in any situation. I mean, that
I mean,
seems to,
I don't think that, I mean, I think if you say commercial, I mean, and we're not, are we gonna get every single person? Obviously not. These guys that were there for an hour with literally air conditioning units, that's what we're trying to
Those are
prevent.
contractors.
I mean, yeah, if somebody's building a, I don't know, somebody's doing putting in a new sink out at Goat Island and they're gonna walk out there with their, you know, whatever, I mean, something that you could carry in a cooler, then fine. Like, who, you know, that doesn't hurt anybody and whatever. I mean, it's the big, huge metal equipment going up and down the dock that, and that's kind of stuff takes time and there's always people down there. I mean, if we ask, I think, you know, the people at the restaurant are pretty cognizant of it. Maybe we ask the people at the marina to keep an eye out too, because I know,
we're still splitting hairs when you do that, though, to Douglas's point. With ADA, can you have an ADA access that's locked and you have to go get a key to use it? Does that qualify?
I feel like.
I think that's a change
I feel
of,
like people would not,
I think you could have a locked door, but, I mean, I think that
Or a code? or
works
whatever
against our,
That you can then call the city to get, but then the code gets out. I
and
don't
then just
know. I mean,
kind of public use. I mean,
I'm
it's a,
thinking like subways and things where they keep people out just with turnstiles or with skinny accesses. It's a pretty simple thing to do, and then you don't have to police it. And then if you have handicap access, maybe they go to the restaurant and get a key.
oh, I see.
Open the gate and then boom, they can.
You're saying a turn, kind of like the New York
Yeah,
subway
not
where there's a
real
turnstile, but
just
then there's a gate
just
on the side that
corral,
somebody.
Basically, some sort of a little gate that you have, that you know, that's skinny, so you can't do this kind of stuff.
How about that, I mean,
They
if
make
we,
it high enough, you can't lift it over it, and then you're done.
if we started with signage, we've also got video down there. I mean, we've got plenty of, if you needed it, monitoring, but, you know.
I mean,
guess
I really do think that most people,
There is a camera.
I mean, unless these guys that I talked
Yeah.
to
No,
were
I know,
really
yeah.
good actors, they were totally surprised, they felt bad,
Yeah, but, I mean, that
they-
would stop it if you just couldn't do it. But we
Yeah,
know the
true.
Good Island people would use it. I would, if I was on Good Island.
It's a great ramp, yeah.
So
What would you
larger
recommend?
signs,
Signs, I think, are the big, and the gate would be very similar to what we had on the dock prior.
Right.
Which worked, but I do know there was a conscious effort to
make it open.
make it open. We could always try signage, and my caveat to that would be encouraging that we put our phone number on there so that people will call us when they see violators. Because a lot of it is, you know, we might have had one or two calls related to the dock so far, and it sounds like this is a much bigger issue than two incidents. So it really goes to getting the public to call and changing our mindset too, making sure that my team's out there checking it on a constant basis as well. But we need the signs to say that you cannot do these things. The downside to saying no commercial, you're still going to have the creative individuals who live over there who might want to install that shop sink, who are going to take it themselves down that dock and use it to get on their boat. Now, they shouldn't have a boat tied up there.
Right.
Because that's mooring, so they would already be in violation anyways, for that.
So how about we just go larger sign, no, no
Commercial
mooring,
use.
and we just say no loading.
No commercial use.
Well, and I
I
think
just
there
don't know
was
that
also maybe a
commercial is gonna
plan-
get to it.
A plan that on the base of the dock, you won't see it if you're using the dock, but if at the base of the dock, you can paint, it's a floating dock, so you can paint there, no mooring, no whatever, just something bold on the outside of the dock, so that when you're approaching, people are approaching it, there's a clear indication that you're not supposed to be docking here.
We did put, that was my specific directions with one of the signs. I wanted it when you pulled your boat up,
That
you
you
saw
could
it.
see it.
And we looked at, we've got another one that we're looking at whether we could put it on one of those pillars or not. We really don't want to damage these pillars in any capacity. They're not cheap, but we do have another one that we're looking at how we can place that in a higher elevated area where somebody would see it when they pull that boat up. But yes, I don't see an issue painting it on the side either. If we can get that done, that would certainly.
Yeah, I mean, that bold as you're pulling up to that dock, that gives you that indication, and there's no, deniability. And in all fairness to the people that are using it now, I don't think the signage is adequate to deter or to inform even, without really looking for it.
We have also tried to, and made contact with Goat Island on the, and I know at least some of this happened when the county placed a dumpster there. And word went out, but it was all to the residents, I believe, and we had residents kind of pulling all their refrigerators and stuff over our dock, through our dock. The point person on Goat Island said it was always their intention that that would happen on the boat ramp. He felt like they could do a better job of kind of broadcasting that. Don't use the dock, use the boat ramp for this type
Do
stuff.
they have to pay for the boat ramp?
No.
They can use
No.
it. They're not
Well,
qualified as residents?
No, they
or-
were actually, the restaurant had offered the restaurant dock
The T-Dock.
for them to use for that. And that was what they had actually already been told, and most people were using the restaurant dock. We found out after the fact that, the restaurant had offered it, they had offered the space, to put the dumpster, and they had even, they did it it was like 4 days when the restaurant was closed, and so they, made a point to say, go ahead and use it to your heart's content. We're not open, have at it. But our dock is closer.
Prettier, wider,
Prettier
yeah.
and nicer, and, I mean, you're not, obviously, just like with anything, we're not gonna catch every single person, but I think if we just, it would be a start, a step in the right direction to say, recreational use only, no commercial loading, something like that. And, yeah, I guess you're still gonna get the residential.
Is this something that'll take a long time to do, like the painting and put the signage up, or is that something we could get implemented fairly quickly, or what's?
Signs are
before
quick.
Season?
So I don't know about painting. I don't know who would do that, or. Any idea? We have
Two paint signs on the dock or.
literally
signs
paint the dock.
I mean, I could get somebody saying.
I guess we
paint
could
city
secure signs. I mean, if we know signs are quick and easy.
Yeah, and the painting's just for everybody, it's not, you only see it when you're pulling up to it, it's not something that's gonna aesthetically, I don't think, hurt the dock, is that right, Robert?
I think you also have a sign for police and fire boat that's low on the bottom of the dock. So I would assume you would wanna do that, red and white, long metal sign, just anchor it right onto the, treated wood, and it wouldn't affect anything, to the dock itself, but it would be low as you're pulling up. And that would be the quickest and easiest way versus trying to paint down below.
There you go, whatever works,
Okay.
yeah, some kind of signage down there where you can't really see it unless you're pulling it up to it.
Right.
We can ask Kirby
Makes
about the
sense.
poles, kind of a barrier that
Well,
makes
and
it tight.
I thought we were gonna put, for the ramp, I thought we were gonna have a gate there of some sort. Are
There
we-
is a gate, but
Oh,
it,
there is a gate at the
yeah,
back?
it, at the top,
Okay,
but it's, you just open it and.
okay.
you know,
And does it
it's
close
not-
does it
I
close
think
at
it stays
night?
open.
Okay.
I don't know that I've actually seen it closed.
Okay, that's why I haven't noticed.
Yeah, there's
it.
currently not a latch on the gate at all, so that's,
Okay.
I mean, it's wide open. There will be a latch. If we wanted it to be coded in some way like the old, when we could do that. I don't know.
Could
if
put a
there's plan.
magnetic lock on it like we did the last gate, that if it's done right, it would open at a certain time and lock at a certain time. We could certainly explore that if that was something.
But the hours of this happening aren't really the issue. I mean, it's happening broad
Right.
daylight while it's open.
Oh, yeah.
So the lock was more to kind of keep
correct,
people off.
The dusk and dawn
Yeah.
time period.
Yeah, Douglas said Roland is currently trying to do that now.
the latch on there.
Yeah, but he's saying he needs electrical to run to that, so that's the magnetic.
That's the magnet.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah.
All right,
Got it.
Donnie,
we'll get it done one of these days.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Donnie's got it.
Oh, Donnie,
Just from my perspective, I believe your longer-term issue is unloading rather than loading.
you mean coming onto the island rather than leaving the island?
Going on to Goat Island is what you're saying.
Coming-
Taking
coming-
new HVAC units over to Goat Island.
I think that's minimal, is loading
It's the
to
trash.
go away.
You're talking about the seasonal traffic?
I think your Goat Island residents, historically and in the future, anytime they can pull up and unload their discarded items, garbage, you name it, and then they're gonna go find the closest place for delivery.
But
And
wouldn't
that's
this
historic.
cover that, loading, no loading, unloading? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, but historically, I think you're gonna find more issues with unloading to the Isle of Palms
Got it.
than you would loading going off of the Isle.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what these guys, the guys I saw, they were pulling old air conditionings from Goat over to here. I mean, obviously, they were taking a new air conditioning unit over too, but I didn't see that part. But, yeah, I mean,
Is there no other way for the Goat Island folks to, I mean, are we the dump?
we're it.
Is that what you're telling me?
I think we're kind of the dump. I think that's a
I'll give you a
longstanding-
historical perspective very quickly. Years ago, the restaurant allowed Goat Island residents to put their garbage in their dumpster. And then that went away, and the red and white then allowed Goat Island residents to put their garbage in their containers. And it was an incentive for, I think, the red and white. They gonna shop there, that kind of thing. And that's kind of, now both of them are gone. So now Goat Island residents have to find a place for their garbage. And just like me in unincorporated Charleston County, you gotta go to a recycle center. Their closest recycle center is Owendale, is legally where they should take their garbage.
So if it doesn't, okay. Are you saying we're the only
We're it.
repository?
Dewey's Island is probably where they should go. And then contract with Dewey's for docking, for loading, unloading, and for hauling
For
trash.
dumpster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's set up for that.
It's, I mean,
That's what they should be doing.
it's somewhat unfortunate that
But that
they,
costs money.
they were the Goat Island was allowed back in the day when they could have bought a piece of property for basically nothing. They were allowed the use of these dumpsters, and so they never needed it. Now, they need it, and they don't have anything, and they never, like, they're not like Dewey, they don't have, Dewey's has that landing zone where they have, I assume they have dumpsters in there, and,
They're contracted with Republic.
yeah.
Dewey's.
I mean, that's what they should do. That's the fix. It just costs money.
Is there a reason they wouldn't do it?
Because they don't want to spend the
Because
money.
they're doing it for free now.
It's a little.
We're paying for it
rhetorical
now.
question. So, okay, so how do we work with them to get to, just, I mean, I don't think we want to be the dump, do we?
Well, I mean, I know, I have spoken with both of the businesses down there, and they are not happy with, people using their dumpsters. And especially once the payment for the dumpsters shifts and everything else, it's gonna be even more of a problem, so.
That's right, the city, that's right.
I mean,
We get, this is a ripple, but maybe we put this on a future agenda item,
Yeah.
just to figure out a way to work with GOAT to get a solution here. It's a whole different topic than
But yeah.
than the dock, I guess.
it's, I mean, the dock is just how they're getting, it's just making it easier to get here. And then once they get here, then,
And that's an easier dock to get to than anybody else.
yeah, it's really nice.
Okay.
We did a great job, unfortunately. So, yeah, well, maybe we should,
Maybe Douglas, take that for a future agenda item. I think we
Talk
gotta,
to-
we gotta figure it out, and maybe we can figure it out with them somehow, to get them incentivized to contract with the Republic.
Yeah, I mean, they're,
Their issue
You would-
is land site for
For the
the
dump.
placement of the
Dumpster.
dumpsters.
we got Wild Dunes is running trash from there for their marina, and we got Dewey's running trash. And they got, for their marina. You would think at some point in time, one of those guys would like a little extra revenue and cut a deal with Goat Island people.
and I mean, you're literally talking about
But Goat Island,
what's the footprint of a dumpster? I mean,
but Goat Island residents don't speak as one voice, they're all individuals.
right.
That creates
Yeah,
even
they're-
more problems.
yeah,
They're not a,
because they're on.
there's no homeowners association, there's
They
no.
create an association, that association could go negotiate a deal and we'd be
Yeah.
done with it.
Okay.
All right, review of the 10-year capital plan for Public Works, Recreation, Drainage, Front Beach, and Beach and Marina.
How are we to read this? Are we looking at the column H is what we're gonna be ultimately at some point approving?
Column, yes, so column J.
I think we have.
I'm
the-
sorry,
Yeah,
column H is what was in last year's budget. Column J is what is anticipated to be.
because I read that in reverse, that the current requests are what we're looking for. These are the most updated requests, column H.
That should say current budget department. So
The
that,
green fiscal year 26.
the column H is what is in this year's 10-year plan.
So,
Column J is the new list of requests.
column J is so this, can we get this relabeled or
Yeah.
something? I mean, this is, to me, that when I went through this, I was
You're looking
really,
at it
I was
in
very
reverse.
confused, yeah. But that's normal. So that, yeah, okay, this is a whole separate.
So
See,
the two, I mean, so we're looking facilities maintenance on line item 30 is 250,000.
yes.
So these are all, if I were just to look at the first page, the request now is to go from $14,472 for general government up to $419,000. We've got a
That's-
$400,000 increase.
That's correct.
And these are the line items that everybody's requesting. Okay.
And that
That is
is,
correct.
and that increase is based on mostly this building
That's correct.
and the issues that we're having with this building. Is
That's
that-
correct. Yeah, that, you want to just start from the top of that, but that is, Scott, you're right, that column H is what got approved as the kind of out year in the current budget that we're under. And we are adding column J. So column J is the request to be in the upcoming year.
Okay, and I'm gonna make just a request for our next meeting. One, I think we gotta see the revenue side of all of these, or all these different departments. Two, I think it's helpful to have even, I think we've got even what the old OpEx is going to be. And where I'm going with this is, I think we got to look at the impact of the fund balances on all of these items. Because if I'm going, if this is the case, if you're looking at column H, we've taken a huge step up on all and everything going forward. And, I can't really assess yay, nay, whatever, good, bad, if we don't know how much money do we have coming in. And looking at the capital requests in isolation, it's just very difficult to see what is the impact of the city finances. And it's going to be one of those, hey, are we going to be dipping deeper into our fund balances to cover all these? I don't have any visibility by looking at this in isolation, so. The modeling should be able to do that. And, we were talked about maybe going after the budget a little differently this year. And the process that we have here is this piecemeal, we end up waiting until May or June to find out, hey, where are we in totality? And I think we ought to do that along the way. That would be my recommendation.
So there's going to be, tonight, there's going to be a revenue discussion, kind of island-wide.
Just the assumptions, kind of.
The assumptions, yeah, the upcoming assumptions. I don't know if you're wanting to basically hold this discussion until that discussion's
No,
happened.
I think we ought to get it oriented on what is it that we're being asked to
Yeah,
approve.
but
Yeah.
that is that's kind of the goal, is to let each committee know these are the changes that we're kind of looking at and considering.
No, this is
and
very
all.
helpful, yeah.
Okay.
I think we should
And
go
then-
through this.
And then as this gets kind of resolved and worked into the overall budget, where you're going to have discussions about revenues, assumptions, but that would happen at the full council level.
Okay, and I'm hoping we're going to pull this up so we don't get backed up to May, June to have to kind of make a decision on the whole picture.
What are you saying?
In other words, we don't normally see the budget total picture and impact to the fund balances or anything like that until around the April, May timeframe. And then we really, I think last year some of us, I know, a lot of us actually, including, Councilman Ward and others, you really can't see what the impact of all the fund balances are until late in the process. I think we talked about maybe changing up the process so that we have
Okay.
visibility into our numbers much earlier.
So we will have that specific conversation tonight
Tonight,
at workshop with
okay,
we
great.
have the calendar and kind of each month's milestones. So we can talk about that
Okay,
tonight.
Good.
So you all okay to just go through kind of page by page?
Yeah, sure.
and,
Yeah. So we're looking at column J.
Column J is the column of requests for this year. First up is general government. First number in there is line 20, and that is the house being elevated, and it's about halfway done, maybe 3/4 of the way done. We're anticipating that there would be another $100,000 of work to be done on that project in the next fiscal year. That amount is offset by grant revenue. So to your point, Scott, you wouldn't know that until you have the revenue section, but
Yeah.
that $100,000 will be offset by grants. Next line down, reconfigure upstairs conference room. And I will say that that's 22, and to Katie's point, line 30. This building had pretty well been limping along, hinging discussions about a new city hall. We think that, we know that even if we were to say tonight, we're going to do a new city hall, which we're obviously not going to do, we at least have 2 years in this building. So reconfiguring the upstairs conference room is to add some partition walls in there to get space for the staff that we don't have space for yet. We have the financial person that we're planning to hire here in the next few months, also in the budget, and coming from the beach ad hoc group, I think, and the enhancement committee recommendations is to hire a resilient / kind of beach manager type person. So we would need space, and that's what that $50,000 is for?
So this is to accommodate, maybe just in the note, to say to accommodate additional reconfiguration. We're not gonna we're not looking to upgrade the conference room, we're gonna.
No.
We're reconfigure, yeah.
Additional.
I
office
think that would
space.
help, because it looked like we were just, yeah.
Additional office space.
Don't wait on me.
Have a camera in there for Cha's role. She currently is using a 10-year-old camera. And then we have payroll software in there, $14,000. This is kind of a bi-weekly struggle for us is our current payroll system is not working as we hoped it would.
Is that off the BSA? Is that a module off the
Yes.
BSA software? Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
It is Nova Time. We have a time software, Nova Time, and it's interfacing with BSA or kind of check.
What do other
check.
munis do? They do like a ADP or something?
Yeah,
Yeah. Have
that's-
we ever looked at that even?
We're
Or is that
looking
what
at it
this
now.
is? Okay.
Yeah, that's what that is. There's 3 of them that Janice has identified and working through, and ADP is one of them. 250,000, that really is kind of a placeholder for the unsafe portions of this building. The railings, the guardrails, the stairs, just to kind of get it through 2 years. We think that it could be upwards of $250,000.
So is this as a 50-50 split? So is the maintenance a $500,000 number?
Let me see if that's in, I was thinking it was a total of 250. Let me see if it's,
Yeah, is there another 250 somewhere? Yeah, I think it's on page 11. So this is a $500,000 maintenance, looks like.
yeah, it is. That's probably conservative. I don't think it would be 500,000. I think it'd be more like 250,000.
Okay, can we then pull, because that'll impact again fund balances and things of that nature. If we think it's 250, let's put 250 in.
Yeah, so let's put 125,
And 125?
line 32, and then 125, line 192.
Okay, so then really, I think what I'm kind of hearing, then that 419 at the bottom, if 100K is covered by grant, that's 319, and then we take out another 125, that takes it way down to, we're under 200K of out of pocket.
Of the 419?
Yeah. Douglas just said that the 250 is more like 125, so then, yeah, we're,
But it's in there twice, Katie. It's half, so 125 is in building department, 125 is in general government,
Oh, gotcha.
for a total of 250.
that's helpful, yeah, to know. Okay. Yeah, that's why I think it's really important we see all sides of it'll help a lot.
Yep. Okay. Public,
Might make some of this hurt less.
so Public Works, same thing, we're looking at column J here.
What happened to the Mac Packer? Where is that? Is that,
So that's a delay from this year, correct?
Right.
The 320 was actually in this year's, and I don't know that it was 320, it was.
it was
That was
250
250,
to
went to
320?
320, based on
Yes.
just pricing.
Mm-hmm. And it's been delayed delivery again.
So we had 250, and this is another one of those, I kind of, like, it looks bad, but it's not as bad as it looks, because we were planning to pay 250 this year, and we didn't pay that. So we have, theoretically, we have that 250 sitting around.
We
right.
did a letter of intent before this year's budget to get it in the books. And it should have been delivered by June 30th of this year. And now it's gonna be delivered, July, August, is what our latest.
But my point is we didn't spend the 250, so we have the 250 from last year. So the hit, or the increase, I mean, you know, if that was the only thing in our budget, we had 250,000 that we didn't spend. So now it's supposed, that 250 is still sitting there, so we could,
Well, I
so we're
don't,
gonna
yeah,
use that 250, so we're basically, so it's 70,000
I think it got pulled, Katie.
extra.
I think it might have gotten pulled, and it should be in the 250 column, F.
Yep.
And here's my question, I guess my question says 320 in FY '26, but then if I go to page 17, it shows that we've got, and I don't know if it's the same one, Donnie, you're gonna have to tell me, but we've got debt now in the budget to finance it. So do we have it in here twice? Or is it the same, are you gonna get more than one rear loader?
No.
Okay, so I think we've got this in here twice. Either the 320's gotta come out, or the
Well,
financing.
Let me rephrase that.
Okay.
We do have more than one loader,
To buy.
not to buy.
Okay.
We kept, you guys authorized us to keep the original one as an insurance policy, so to speak,
Yep.
when we purchased the one that we were operating. So we do have two. One was, 2008 model, 2009 model.
So I guess my point is, if we've got it in here to buy it, we've also got it in here to finance it. So we've got it in here twice, I think.
So sorry.
So Deborah, we're on a couple changes on page 9, which is general government, 10-year capital. I'll go through those with you. But I think it's to add a note, line 23 of page 9 of the City Hall, that reconfiguration is to add office space. And then the second one is column J, is that 31?
Line 30.
30.
Is it 30 or 30? It's,
30.
yes.
Oh, I'm sorry,
30.
on that page.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
The
line 30.
subtotal is
250.
32.
That 250, I think we don't, so that's in there twice, so that would be 500,000 to kind of keep this building afloat. And that should, I think we can do for 2 125s.
Okay.
So
don't-
250 total, but 125 split. Yeah.
Not 500 total.
Not 500 total.
Now, and just a labeling thing, Deborah, look, I thought, because it said current FY '26
Oh, yeah.
department request, I thought that was the current FY '26 request. If we can relabel that, because I think we're looking to approve column J, correct?
We're looking to approve column J. So
Okay.
last year, some of the council people wanted to see what we had currently budgeted
No,
for
that's
FY
great.
'26.
Yeah, that's the prior request.
This is the prior request.
J is the current request.
J is the current request.
so I'm just
H
asking
is
to label
what
those
was
different.
requested last year.
Yeah.
That's
So
correct.
we'll label H as FY '26 requests in the FY '25 budget, and then we'll relabel column J to say
Prior.
current
Request.
FY '26 requests. That should clarify, right, Scott?
Yeah, just, yeah.
I mean, if we were to approve a budget today, we would be approving J.
That is correct.
That's correct.
Yeah, theoretically. And then also, can we put on 20 that's coming from a grant, or is that there already and I don't see it?
It's in the note there.
Oh, it is
fully
fully
offset
funded.
by
Okay, I
grant
see.
funds, yeah.
Yeah, fully offset, sorry. That's really small words.
Yeah.
So then we get to the next.
Maybe I need
We talked,
higher
we also
prescription
talked, Deborah,
glasses.
about, I think it would be helpful on the next meeting to have what the revenues are. We're going to talk about it tonight, but have the revenues, and also what the impact the fund balances are going to be to all these requests, like how, as we go through these, the fund, we need to know, are we going to be funded by our current revenue streams and grants, or are we going to be dipping into our savings?
So now we're looking at line 131.
Yep.
Yes.
And I guess maybe I still don't understand. This the 250,000 was in a budget somewhere, right?
I think it was on, if, again, go back to page 17, Katie, I think what happened, yes, we had it in the budget, but I think we were assuming we were going to finance it so it wouldn't show up here, it would show up in the debt, because we wouldn't have to put the cash outlay. Is that correct, Deborah?
I'm sorry, what line are you looking at?
131,
On page 10.
yeah, page 10, 131.
10 of the pa-
I didn't print mine like
So
that,
this is-
so.
Public Works,
Okay, yes. So originally, we were gonna get two trucks at the same time, a side loader and a rear loader. And this is in the budget actually twice because we need direction from the council on whether we want to pay cash for that at this point, since we're only doing one at this time instead of the two that we initially had in last year's budget. So instead of 700 and some thousand, we're requesting 320 at this time. So we need to take it out of one section because it's in there twice because we need direction.
Well, okay, do we have a lot of the cases where we put things in here twice because of direction, or?
There's two things in there, City Hall
The city hall and
and the trucks.
the, okay. But I thought the truck had already been ordered.
no, well, we do have a letter of intent. It is ordered.
So it would have been in the budget somewhere along the way, a previous budget.
It would have been in last year's budget as a financed item
Okay,
under 27 because we wouldn't pay for it until 27 if financed.
Yeah, I would request that we not put things in the budget twice. We just make an assumption it's going to go one way or the other. Again, because that's going to impact, if we're doubling down on putting things in twice, it's going to impact our cash flow and our fund balances dramatically. And just note, we make a note that we need direction on either to finance it or to put cash out. Because this, right now, if we look at a cash flow standpoint, we've got this J in here at 320,000. Plus, if you look at item line, or page 17, we've got several $100,000 of debt service in here. So that's way overstating what our cash outlay is going to be over the next several years. So I think we ought to put it in here once, Deborah, and not twice. We shouldn't, and if there's anything in here twice, we better really put a highlight on it with a big highlight.
It is highlighted on the debt service section.
As
And
read?
And as read, and I've also noted it on the, I think on the truck.
So same thing with City Hall renovation, so those are the two.
so the two things in red.
That are
on
red are in here
page
twice.
17,
Right.
those
Okay.
It's
are,
just City Hall and the trucks.
okay.
And we can remove it. It's fine.
Yeah, I
mean,
think,
this is
I
just-
think for fund balance purposes, we ought to, let's just put it in there once and say, and then you can tell us.
Do you all have a preference of which side it goes on?
I think we'd probably finance it, wouldn't we? I
So
think that's
keep
been-
it on-
I think that's
keep it
been
on
the plan.
17?
Keep it on 17 and pull it out of the 320. That would be my recommendation. That's going to help our,
I was gonna say, so I mean, so the 320 goes away completely. I mean, from line item.
It goes from
1.
page 10 to
It's
page
still-
17.
yeah, it stays in 17. I think
Still there,
that was
but-
the original
yeah.
discussion, I think.
Deborah, you good with
Saving
that?
money right and left.
Trying.
Well, can I back up?
Sure.
And I apologize for being late. I totally forgot about this meeting. The 50,000 for the upstairs conference room to reconfigure that. What was decided on that?
So that's staying in there, but
Yeah.
it's line 30 that has 250.
Right, we're changing
And-
that to 125.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so those are the only changes.
Yeah, that was the only change there.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm sorry.
And then we're just getting rid of the 320
Yep.
on 131. And then we're replacing,
So now we're,
and this is, this is in blue, the 143. Does that mean that we're dealing with that on the debt? Are we doing that?
And sorry, not to be a stickler, but should we move if we're going to do it in 26, should we move the financing in a year from 27 to 26 on page 17? So
We're gonna have to
I
start
don't-
paying for it
Yeah, I
when
don't
we
think the
get
bank's
it,
going to
right?
wait a year for us.
We're gonna get it this year, right?
Yeah.
It's coming.
It's
coming
coming
in.
in.
Yeah,
26?
so we need to move that to the
July or
left.
August, right, Robert?
Well, August
So they-
of 24. 25.
So they say.
So they say.
So,
So
We-
you're talking about.
You need to shift it one
28
column to the
bucks.
left, Douglas. Yeah.
so 356,
When were you supposed to get it? Last summer?
June 30th.
Yeah,
this year.
line item 356
Oh.
and 357, I think
So
if
it's
that's
just a
the
month.
payment schedule. And
they
is
shift
that,
one column to the left.
yeah, maybe just validate that is that the new pricing or the old numbers, if it was at a 250 financing versus a 320 financing.
Did the price change? I don't think. the
320
price-
is the number,
I
right?
don't think the price changed.
I thought it went from 250 to 320, no.
320.
Was
Yes.
250 though?
I don't think it was
I
250.
think
250 was a number that was assumed way back with our smaller truck, number 2, that we have as a smaller truck. When we went to this 31-yarder, it jumped up to.
Oh, so the 250 was just an assumption, like a
Yeah,
placeholder
it was a
assumption.
10-year capital plan that had been placeholder.
Gotcha.
Last year, though, I'm pretty sure it was at 320, or whatever number's in there now was at that.
Was
same
that's the
number.
actual price of the
Yes.
vehicle? Okay.
Okay, great.
The red numbers on page 17 should give us 320, correct?
Yeah, 356 should add up,
Yeah.
if that's the
Yeah.
principal, that should add up to
Yeah.
the price, whatever that is, yeah.
Okay. Cool. The truck with the hopper flat dump, 337 to 68,000, is that?
So, it's in the original budget, FY '25 budget is 37, and we're increasing it to 68. And that's because I think the
That's just the cost of trucks?
cost of,
It's a little bit different application, and Robert, get up here. So in forecasting forward and being more versatile within the public works arena, I'll let Robert handle what he's come up with.
Yeah, I think so. With these hopper trucks, that's on the sanitation side. We currently have 3 of them that are in great shape. So moving this other hopper truck from 37,000 to 68,000, that would be a dual-purpose truck. So it'd also be on the sanitation side for large items that can be put into the back of it. And then also on the drainage side, when we have to dig out ditches and do other stuff, whole stuff around the island. Because currently, we don't have anything for the drainage side to do that kind of work.
Okay. I feel like we've talked about that before, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
and just to make a note, the fuel dispenser, that should be in 26, not 27, that's an error on my side.
Which line item is that, Deborah?
That is on line 153, line
So-
item 153. I have it in FY '27, but it should be 26, so that will be moving to 26.
That 20,000 comes over.
That 20,000, yes. It was budgeted in FY '20 this year, but it's on the capital, but it never made it to the actual itemized page, so we're rebudgeting it for '26.
The Dominion undergrounding, that 200,000, I believe that was supposed to be 41st Avenue. I think we know that the 200,000 is not going to cover that, so I think that's kind of in there as a placeholder.
Do you have a better estimate, Douglas? Just
Well,
ballpark even?
I think we know that project.
We can't do it.
We can't.
Oh, we
it's-
can't do it.
That's the
It's
one that's.
kind of 900 and some odd thousand.
Oh, so is that should we be, if we think we're getting 100,000 a year, should we just match it up with what Dominion's number is?
Well, I know that we have, and we've kind of received the point, and I think it's a good point, that we should be trying to match as much as we can to keep anything from rolling off to kind of strategically
Yeah.
arrange.
He's got the numbers, he just showed them to me, and it's, what, 65 grand a year.
65 years.
So do we know what the balance is
Balance is a
approximately?
little over 100 right now, because we use some up,
We've been,
but we're getting about 65 a year right now, every year. And that goes up with inflation, basically.
So should we budget 60, I mean, is this
And
I mean, realistically, we can't put 200 on it then, can we?
Correct.
Not if we're using their money.
So let's make a note to refine that number to take full advantage of what
He
is
says
in the.
he sent all that to you.
Okay.
So you know how.
So it sounds like that 200 is going to go to 100 based on the balance held by Dominion.
So then we gotta find a new project that we can actually spend.
Right, and we don't have it
Due for 200,000.
for 200,
Or we gotta figure out this bond issue.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Any other questions on page 10 of the packet?
we got the trash cans, that's 100,000 still going, Donnie, or?
That'd be phase 2
Yep.
Okay.
of three-phase transition.
Okay, so I think on this page then, we're going from about 708. Take out the 320, put the 20 back in, take the 2 down to 1, we're at 308 instead of 708. Looks like we adjusted about 400,000 here.
Oh, yeah, take out that other.
You're at 408,
308, roughly.
where's your extra?
The 200 might go to, the 320 comes out, the 20 goes from 27 to 26, that's plus 20, so, and then the 200 goes to 100.
Gotcha.
And we'll adjust the 100 to match the Dominion funds, which I should have after this meeting. Okay, page 11. The line 172, that 1.8 million, that is Palm Boulevard project.
So
We
is this
have a-
all covered? The footnote sort of indicates, is it all covered now by ARPA and state funding? The 1 point, because I thought we had to kick in.
Yeah, the ARPA went away. The ARPA got allocated to the docks and the rec equipment. So I believe,
That's just state funding.
And
yeah,
that's 900, that's not a million now, is it at 900 or something?
No, that was the waterway.
yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
actually, I think
Oh,
that
I'm
one's
on a
actually,
different project, never mind, sorry.
Yeah.
yeah, I
sorry.
think that's actually 1.2, I believe.
Can we update that
Yeah.
number, whatever?
Yep. So I know that 1.1 goes away. I think the 1 is actually 1.2.
See you, Blair. Thank you.
Wait, now, hold on.
You're
So,
saving all kinds of money, you're missing one.
The one, the
good
1.8
stuff.
is 2.1?
I like your leverage idea. I'm sorry, what? Oh, yeah.
What is the cost of this project, we think?
I think it's still 1.8.
Okay, so 200 was spent this year. Is that right? Is that right?
250 was budgeted for this past year, did we spend it?
We have spent on design.
Yeah, I think that's where we're getting the 2.1 from.
Oh, okay.
250 that was spent this year, and the
Yes.
1.8 that's.
Yep, so that's
spent.
design and construction.
But it's just state money, not funded by opera.
That's correct.
So if we're looking at the revenue, go ahead, Katie, I'm sorry.
Well, so basically, the city is gonna end up spending, what, $1 million?
I think that 1 is 1.2. I think we're spending 650.
So can we update the footnote to kind of, that goes to that revenue conversation of how much of it's really, if we've got grant money, that's great, and how much of it's really going to come out of the city coffer?
So it's going to be difficult to get revenue numbers now because we haven't worked on the operational part of this budget yet. So
I
all
was talking for
revenues will
next
be
month.
based on kind of like where we are now. Is
I guess
Because-
what I'd like to understand better is, I mean, the price, the cost of the project as a whole, obviously, we need to know,
right?
but if the state's picking up,
I think
you
it's
know,
1.2.
whatever, or we're getting a grant, or, you know, like, how much of it, at the end of the day, how much is the
City
city
paying for it.
actually paying? Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what I'm, quite honestly, that's what I care about.
Yeah,
mean,
I agree.
I mean, it's also, I think it's nice, and like, I think people like to see that, you know, this project costs $2 million and we're only having to pay whatever, you know, like, I mean, I think that looks it makes me feel better about it when I
Right.
see that the state's paying for it and not us,
Yeah.
or at least a portion of it.
So I think there's two pots of money, and we need to figure out, make sure that it is clearly noted which part of money this is coming from, because there was a state grant for $1 million that was received in FY '24. Then there was another 1.2 that was received this year. So there's $2 million, $2.2 million somewhere. And
For
maybe
that
both-
project?
Maybe both of them, that's what we have to
Yeah.
verify, whether all the money was received for this project or whether it was received for another project. But the city does have $2.2 million from state funds.
So I think, Deborah, what you just described is that if you take the two pieces, most of the project's covered by grants.
That's.
And that,
that's
yeah,
correct.
that would be really helpful to have it footnoted or updated or whatever, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, it makes it a lot less painful.
Yeah.
And then the Waterway Boulevard, multi-use elevation, all that 2 million, that's also, there's grant stuff there.
Yep.
Now, the footnote, maybe I'm trying to figure this out.
I'm
It says
forgetting
that-
what we got to on our final
Yeah, we're up to
number.
2.6, and the budget says 2.
I thought weren't we getting like 900?
It's in the 980, I think it says, that's in the footnote too.
Yeah, I don't think we received that yet, though.
We have not.
But is that
But
2
it
million,
will-
is that 2 million now 2 point, I think it's now 2.6, isn't it? Or is it?
So that is, yes, that project, total project's 2.6, but 6 of it will be done this fiscal year, just got approved and is going to start here in the next month. So that leaves,
So the
I'm
residual
going to have
is
to
2
pull this, I'm
million?
going to have to pull this memo out because I get the numbers.
I know,
Can we
recently.
realistically spend it in this year, the 600,000 before the fiscal year starts? I guess
Yes.
is the question.
Yep, I think we will.
I think we have to in order to get into Wild Dunes
Yep, I'm not sure if that project will
scope.
leak past July, and I'll make a note
Yeah,
to,
I'm pretty sure we're in a pretty hard stop on that 600 because that's what we're doing in conjunction with Wild Dunes.
correct.
And they're gonna be pushing real hard to get done by season.
Okay.
So that's where the 2 million difference is coming from, because 600 will be spent this year.
But then the 1.5 that was in the 25 budget,
We're only gonna spend 6
we're
of
gonna
that.
spend 6.
I think we had that conversation at the last meeting. So of
Yes.
the 2 million,
Yep.
2,980,000 of it's covered by the grant that we haven't received yet. So we're going to be, aside, in addition to the 600,000, but we're going to be out of pocket on the remainder of like about a million 20,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know we needed to come up with a
With a
million.
million.
Yep,
And the 600. Oh, no,
and the
that's- yeah.
600 this year,
Yeah.
correct.
But again, we're getting a value,
Yeah, the 7
of-
feet, yeah.
significantly more than that, and so, yeah. I feel like it's good to see
Yeah.
what we're getting versus what we're, also, I mean, we're getting a lot of this grant money and stuff, and that's important for people to see that we're finding other pots of money.
So the only other thing that should change on this page is the building
Yep.
department, that's gonna go to 125.
So that's the
instead
other
of
half, that's the
Line
other half of
190.
that.
Half of it, yes.
Yeah, line 192. So we'll clean up that.
Are we
this-
going over all this tonight?
No.
Not these. I think
No.
we're just
This
going over
isn't
the,
tonight.
I think we're going over the
Okay.
calendar and the process.
Correct.
Okay.
Calendar, process, and just the assumptions that built into the revenues.
What hap-
We're not covering these, these are in the.
Yeah,
agenda.
just as kind of informational. I don't think we're going to go line by line like this.
What
Yeah,
happened
these all
to
need to
the,
get updated anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
What happened to the basketball scoreboard?
Nothing yet.
Well, it was there and now it's not.
So what we did, we put it in that placeholder with the 20,000. So we kind of deleted it because it was in there twice. So,
Okay.
Because that first line actually had scoreboard in there
Gotcha.
too, but then that one was separate for some reason. So we just took out that 7 and left it in with the 20. Being
Gotcha.
obviously we're getting a, handful of new playground equipment, so there won't be as many issues, but it's still that placeholder, so we just moved that into there.
Have we gone over fire? Did we go over? No.
And public safety, yeah.
That's a different company,
Yeah.
okay.
New fence for the soccer field. Yes.
So that's that fence line along 29th that keeps it out of our neighbor's yard
Probably good.
and street.
Yeah.
The pickleball people are asking for lights.
Is the, is the picnic
I'm
shelter,
aware.
is the picnic shelter in bad shape, or is that something we could push a year maybe, or?
Possibly.
Could
It's
we
one of
take-
those
yeah.
facilities that we're just using more and more, with fitness classes in their daily, other programming underneath there. We have the farmer's market, some other events where it ends up being a showcase piece. And, it works.
I'd like to take a look and see if it can be moved. We're spending, I mean, our budgets are going dramatically up in a ton of other areas, and if this is a nice, I mean, I get it's a nice to have, but, 50 here and 100 there could help, just if you can, we can take a look at that. Maybe just
No, we do.
pushing
We
it out
have
a year.
we have lights for the pickleball court on.
So, we're talking about the shelter or the
Yeah,
lights?
50,000 if we can.
Yeah, the lights are actually in this year's, so I'm working on that now.
So removing the 50,000.
Or maybe just push it out so we don't lose sight of it.
Push
It's,
it out a year
it's just
from
we've
year.
got so many other significant increases because of the price changes in the waterway project and others. Maybe we could, I'm just looking for here and there.
Everything else good on that page? Go to 13.
Yeah.
Carry the 2 tennis courts, went from 120 to 190.
So that is actually on a, by a quote that I received from Talbot Tennis for the reconstruction of those 2 courts.
Okay.
And there is, not that we've received it or applied for it yet, but there is a USDA grant on reconstruction or new grants that would be 15 to 25, depending on the level of work.
15 to 25,000?
1,000.
Okay.
And is that, I mean, are the courts,
Yes.
I haven't played out there in a while.
You should come check it out.
I've been on the pickleball courts instead.
It's one of those things that you look at, resurfacing, but they've been cracked and resurfaced so many times
I feel like
that
they,
that's not really gonna be that's a very short-term fix,
yeah.
so.
Will they put a lot more reinforcement under those this time?
That's
Carrie, or-
the
yeah.
problem, right? They've been, yeah.
They've been
They're pretty
resurfaced
beat,
several
yeah.
times.
Yeah, they
so-
just need to, because that's why they keep cracking.
Correct, yeah, because the under levels. So if they were to reconstruct, they would build that up, just like they redid the basketball and did for the pickleball courts. And it
Is
would
there a
be
way of
longer.
doing it so that, because I know when we originally talked about this, we were putting the pickleball courts in, and we discussed converting one tennis court back into just a tennis court without the lines. And then I'm also now being asked, is there a way to make it so that we have, I don't know if we could have, the court that was gonna be multi-use tennis and pickleball, if we could have, something so that you could have more substantial, more long-term, pickleball, removable
Nets
nets.
for one court,
Yeah,
that would be a question for.
when they resurface, I'm
Sounds-
just thinking, when they
Correct.
resurface, it seems like you could have a hole, more or less, that you could have a cap over and
Drop.
put a net in and take a net out.
I can see if that's possible.
Because I just feel like if we're gonna, I mean, as much as it pains me to say it, the pickleball's getting used a lot more than the tennis.
We do have a pretty vibrant tennis
There-
program.
there is
though.
tennis, yeah.
You
And
know,
I would
we're
really
out
like
there
to
Monday
have-
through Thursday with adult lessons and at least 2 days a week with youth lessons.
Yeah.
4 hours per day, so 8 hours a week.
I do think I would really like to have one tennis court that is just a
Strictly
tennis court. Yeah,
I think that would be a wise.
because those lines are
move.
confusing.
Yes,
like-
they are.
And you
Especially
actually,
when teaching.
well, and you
what
actually
lines are
can't,
which.
not that we really have that, but technically you cannot play a USTA sanctioned match on a court that has pickleball lines,
Correct.
because it is that confusing.
But it's something I can look into for
Okay,
sure.
yeah, that'd be cool if we could make that like in a multi-use officially. And the lights, is that something that we are still looking at, or
The
is
lights are
that-
something that I'm still looking at, yes.
Okay.
It came in as a much higher price tag, so,
Is that not something where we could just put like, it looks like you could almost use some of the existing poles, or is that not?
I asked that question. That is apparently not a thing. It
Just
seemed
throwing up
like
a
you
couple
could to me
lights
as
on the
well.
back of one of the
Correct.
poles
Yes, yes.
So Carrie, that's the 25,000 in there for pickleball lights, it's in there for this year, you're
It's in there
saying?
for this year.
Are you saying that that won't happen this year, it needs to be next year?
I'm working on an RFP now for that. to see
Okay.
what- I reached out to Musco, which is who we have all of our sports lighting with, because they have the 25-year
Yeah.
warranty, and, when we did that project, it was a sole source. But their price tag came back at like 60,000.
Oh, okay.
I will put it out for bid to see if there's
Well,
some
the other,
options.
but the other thing about that is if that tennis court became more of a multi-use, that's already lit.
Correct.
So we
And,
could,
and technically, right now, both of those courts do have pickleball lines on them and there are lights up there. So
right,
currently, there still is an option. I just don't know if it's the best option for everyone.
yeah. I mean, I guess, but the way I'm looking at it is if we made that court into an actual, because right now, unless you have your own
Own
net,
net.
it's not really, I mean, some people go and play pickleball and the tennis, but, but if we could make it so that it was really multi-use, then we'd have 2 lit pickleball courts.
Yeah.
And call it a day.
Got a line in there highlighted, construct gymnasium in accordance with the master plan. Is that highlighted just as a question? I don't think there's any money.
It's free.
I think last year, that's one of those things that we left in there, but like bumped out to the,
Off the plan.
off the plan.
Do we want to?
It's in there because, we just don't want to forget about it. But when we had it listed under one of the current years or under one of the 10 years, council saw need to remove it because it was increasing the projections.
Okay.
But apparently it's in the master plan, and I'm not sure if that's something we want to remove or if it's needed, or I don't know if it needs further discussion.
I'm okay just leaving it as a
Okay.
line item, but not putting any dollars associated
What does it
with it.
even mean? What?
So the overall goal was to, at some point, construct a second gymnasium out of the, towards where the dog park is now. The gymnasium we use now, as you know, has been through Hugo, and it can't
So,
really
like-
be upgraded. The new building doesn't touch the old building, because we would have had to bring that up to code, and we did not do that. And-
So this would be like a second basketball court in essence, or more?
Yeah, but you have to obviously think larger than that, right? And
Right.
the other space could become productions or, different sports and different adult sports and more volleyball and more programming and just more use of space. And not just saying it's for sports.
Interesting. All right, so someday.
Anything else on 13? We ready for 14?
I think, we good?
On 14?
14,
And we put,
we,
wait, no, what's the,
I think we're going up on the new additions or resurface city-owned portion of Ocean Boulevard and new benches in the front beach area.
Sorry, no, I'm sorry, I'm back. I'm still on 13.
13.
Okay, sorry.
For building maintenance. Oh, is that under recreation?
What are we at?
Sorry, 247. I'm
247. Yes.
That's for-
That
okay.
is our, most other departments get the 1%, we get the 0.5% because we have the maintenance, we actually have maintenance staff.
I'm sorry.
That is
I was thinking that
recreation,
was
yes.
this building that we're sitting in right now.
That's our building.
Don't mind me.
Okay, page 14, we have, looks like we have currently in this budget, we have 100,000 for resurfacing Ocean Boulevard. That hasn't happened, so that's getting pushed into FY '26. And then we have kind of a revolving 70,000 in each year for sidewalks on that same stretch. That's continuing in there. And then I think all of the rest of it's the same.
What's the word on the resurfacing? When's that? Is that?
That's always been in there. I mean, we just kind of push it out, kind of use our judgment. I mean, it's not, there's no areas, they're wavy, but that's from the original pavement down there, but, there's nothing with holes or,
So could we go another year?
yeah, I believe so.
So push that to, that
Two?
100,000,
I mean, I
27?
feel like we do that when it needs to be done, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
because that's on us, right? Like, and it's on our time frame, and
Yeah,
what I'm
that's
saying.
our
we don't
road.
have to wait on DOT or
No.
anything like that.
Yeah.
So like, if we decided to go ahead and do it, we can just do it.
Exactly.
Yep. So you want to put that in
That-
at
Takes
27?
100 out, that's good.
Is that in both the resurfacing and the repairs to the sidewalk, or just the resurfacing?
We do a lot, we do kind of annually do
Sidewalk.
sidewalk
Sidewalk
repairs, so
needs-
that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
As you
It
get,
heaves and, yeah,
Yeah,
cracks.
we replace sections at a time.
can only have a 1/4 inch crack. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's pretty small.
it is.
So that took us down to 250.
And the benches that are in there, that was something that we added in because we desperately needed it. We've been removing benches as they're rusting, and moving them around. So that is something that we would like to do, all from Egypt.
And transition to the.
Yeah, it's to the poly wood type of benches that don't rust anymore, composites that'll
So
last for a while.
the chamber participated in the benches for the park in the little triangle that the environmental committee worked on. I wonder if the chamber would be interested in, because I just know they were very involved with the bench for that little park.
Right.
So I don't know if,
Put some plaques on and sponsor.
yeah, I don't know if that's
corporate
something that
sponsor.
like they'd like to be involved with.
Some of those benches that are down in Front Beach have been sponsored years and years ago, and that's what the little granite stones are for. So each granite stone associates itself with a bench. We've discussed this in the past, we don't believe that you should always have a bench with that stone there, but people have asked that, we sponsored this way back when, and now my bench is gone, so,
rusted away.
yeah.
Your
donation
So, I mean,
They
eventually
wanted it in
rusted.
perpetuity.
You're
So
right,
maybe from
right.
now on, your bench sponsorship lasts 5 or 10 years. I don't know, it might be worth bringing that up to the chamber just to see
Yeah.
if they-
if that's something they're interested in.
Okay, page 15. Beach maintenance, monitoring, and access.
Is that footnote on 24, is that still, does that
On
need to
which
be
one?
updated? I'm sorry, on line item 284. Looks like we got the 250 placeholder in there, but those are old, I don't know if those are old notes, because that funding is not going to apply to the 26 funding, is it? Or is it, maybe it will,
No, that funding is just,
for back in 24? Or-
no, that funding is for this year, this FY '20 budget that we're in. Because those walkovers are being done now.
Correct.
So they're grant,
So-
but the footnote, is that still, it's being funded by grants?
Not for-
footnote-
Not for future years, no.
The 500,000 from the SCPRT, Scott?
Yeah,
That
that's,
happened, yeah, that's
We
happening
don't have
now.
that anymore,
But that will
correct?
not, I guess we can go ahead and strike
yeah,
that
maybe
for
get
out
that
years.
footnote update, because that's.
So we're
that's
on our
kind of-
own
that's
for
on our own.
those from now on,
Currently.
or currently,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, those have been popular with the Greenbelt Fund. We've used 2 of those for that fund and the state budget allocation. So those have been one that people tend to like to fund, so, but I don't know that we have an identified source for FY '26 yet.
Okay, so I'll update that.
And the Moby Mac got less over the last, is that because we just stopped doing where we were putting it out farther? Is that what happened there?
Yeah,
But
we,
it
Plus
alternates.
inventory.
Yeah. We
Okay.
currently still have
Oh.
Moby mats.
Oh, gotcha.
we have it in
alternates, like,
stock.
Yeah.
Some years are higher than others.
Exactly.
Yeah. But we did do a pilot program of bringing them out farther, but I think, did we decide that didn't work?
Well, the tide decided that.
Yes.
We did it right before all these king tides, so it was
Mother
it was
Nature.
bad. If it had been out for the last 3 or 4 months, we would have been good.
Mother Nature
Right.
didn't like that plan.
Yeah, no.
It was really nice though, when it was there.
So we have the shoal management project, obviously, completing in June. You know, that has been getting delayed. So we'll leave it in there and keep our fingers crossed that it will be finished and done. Same thing with the,
Have they left Sullivan's?
Yeah, they're on our side, yeah.
well, the,
Right.
I noticed.
the
I just
operations
noticed
has
this-
moved, but the pipe was out there still
Yeah, I was
last
still
week.
seeing it, but I just noticed this morning that I was wondering if it had more to do with what's happening in Washington, but I noticed that the thank you to Joe Biden sign was gone. So I
That
was-
did not make the move over to
I
here.
was wondering if, I was wondering if that meant that
We
they were
wondered if that-
officially done with Sullivan's or,
No, they were still pumping on Sullivan's last week.
Okay.
But they were going to stop within the next, they said 2 to 3 weeks to go do the shoal. But they may go back to Sullivan, so
well,
their
the sign is gone.
sign didn't make the move. So, yeah, we have 587 in there for the beach work to be done this fiscal year, and we'll just keep our fingers crossed that it actually happens this fiscal year.
Should we, quick question on line item 291, should we be moving that into, or some of that into, I mean, according to what Steve said, that's gonna be over a 6-month project before, while we got
Yeah,
calls
that's,
or wherever.
that's my comment, is that.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We've got it, we have it now wrapping in June, but I don't know that that'll happen.
I think based on what Steve told us last meeting, that's not, I mean, should.
Be
we-
hard pressed.
I mean, and I think the number went up to what, we approved 425 or 4, I can't remember what, that 400 went up a bit on the approval for the contract, and
That's right, yeah.
I would suggest putting, I don't know, half or something, maybe do a half and half, but just so we got coverage. Because he said he said at the last meeting, minimum 6 months, and we're probably gonna start in March in earnest.
Let me,
We do
Well,
have.
just check with him.
yeah, let me check with Stephen on,
But don't be, you don't wanna be short on the funding for that. on
I
the
have,
application.
well, we have 200 budgeted for FY '26 already, because we're saying that of the 400,000, only 200 will be done in this fiscal year, and then we'll move 200 to FY '26. But I just need to get what the new number is. If it's not 400, I need to get.
so you're saying there, line 291?
291? Mm-hmm.
I'm not seeing 226.
You don't see?
26.
No, I don't see it either.
Am I looking at an old one?
Might be,
Okay,
because I have 200 on mine.
okay. Look at that. You,
And I think we
Looking
gotta
ahead,
I think we gotta update the footnote too, because it's talking about, I think we got the wrong year in there. It's delayed a year.
yes,
Yeah.
25.
Well, I think it was,
originally scheduled.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, could update the footnote. And on FY, this is kind of for line item, I guess, 289, 292, the big beach renourishment. We've
Yep.
got in there for roughly 12 million, and we know that Steve's told us it's 22.6 if we do the 8-year cycle. And I don't think we've got any agreement with anybody on where the funding's coming from, except for us right now.
Well, Wild Dunes.
We don't know what that, we don't know what
We
that
don't know
is yet.
percentages
We don't
yet.
have an agreement.
Um,
And I think even if they do chip in, it's not gonna bring it down to 12. Remember we plugged that number last year to make the balance?
Yeah.
I'd rather.
I don't know that last year, did we take out the Wild Dunes?
No, we had,
portion?
we assumed Wild Dunes was gonna contribute, and the number was 17 plus.
Yep.
And then because the fund balance went negative by 5 million, the money just got pulled out of the estimate at the time. That's what happened. So I would suggest, let's just put the realistic estimate in and assume some Wild Dunes funding if you just put it in the assumptions. But let's put it there, what we think it's really gonna be. I'd also ask if you wouldn't mind just making a phone call to Steve. That 22.6 is now, it's over a year old, the estimate. It'd be nice to just, if you can say, hey, that number's still ballpark. It's probably the biggest number we have in our
Yep.
budget. And I know it's next year, but it's upon us. So if you could take, I think we
Yeah,
we
we'll
gotta
clean
update,
that,
yeah.
we'll clean that with numbers and, we have been, it has been confirmed to us verbally that their the Wild Dunes fund balance is there and, but I
Just make
can.
it, just document what
We'll-
the assumption is.
Yeah, we'll make that as an assumption there. Okay, page 16.
Oh, look at that. We got,
We got more on,
It's an easy review.
15?
I know, no, I'm
Okay,
excited
six-
about 16.
You know, though, on 60, on the marina, sorry to keep this conversation going, but if we're talking about doing some parking stuff, or maybe it's too premature, but, this is another one where I think the revenue side could help us, because our revenues on the overages with the redone of the leases have, I think they've been quite favorable to the tune of several $100,000. So we just might want to have that information when we're looking at what we're doing with the marina.
And I do think we are gonna have, we do want something for the,
Green space and stuff.
oh, well, the green space, it does say that the green space has moved.
Well, it's supposed to be done this year.
So I think we can, what's the group feel? I don't think there's any way that's done
This year.
this
I
year.
don't think so either.
So I think that,
And the
that
resurfacing.
300
Yeah. I think
goes,
those need to move
gets
to
shifted
26.
to column J.
I feel like there's a, a little something that's gonna need to be spent down there. I mean, just when we went to the opening of the new dock, that, like, is it a Moby mat, the blue mat that we're using for ADA has always caused me some anxiety, and it's looking a little bit rough. If we do change the configuration, there's gonna be some, at least for the time being, until we get to the point of doing a more large-scale project, at least some fencing, rope fencing, not anything huge, but I do think we're gonna have to spend a little something this
That
year.
would be, yeah, this fiscal year.
We are gonna have something this year, but I don't think we'll be able to do, because we wanna get it done before the season, and I don't think that's.
Right. I don't think
So I
that'll
think,
happen.
Douglas, you're suggesting move the 150 over to 26. I think that's
Correct.
probably more
Yeah.
accurate, yeah.
But maybe keep a little bit in,
And put some
I
extra.
mean, we'd
in,
have a little bit to spend this year still.
Yeah,
Yep.
and update the footnotes on those too, yeah. Now, the T-Dock, is that,
T-Dock is done.
No, T-Dock, they never did,
Well, T-Dot, what is going to get done is done.
for now, right, because they've basically said, is that right? They've said no for now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep,
But that happened this year.
correct.
whatever was done. happened
Right,
in
so
FY
there,
25
so we don't have any plans.
For any future.
We need
Correct.
to get, didn't we leave it that we were gonna reconvene
Yeah,
with Marina and Restaurant and decide what needs to be done with those docks?
yeah,
But I think we were kind of leaving it to them.
We were.
To give us some guidance. 'Cause those are the only docks out there that are still like original, old, whatever.
so let me they had strong opinions about the
They did.
T-Dock and what happens there. I'll circle back with the tenants on T-Docks. If we need to have money in there for out years, we'll make that adjustment.
The dredging is happening next year.
Great. And that's all covered, looks like by grant.
Yep.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Okay, good on that. 17 is the,
The debt, bonds and debt.
So we're gonna move that loader up one, and then, okay, so on City Hall, how do we, this presumes we're going forward, I don't think we're anywhere close to making a decision on that. Should we be, I don't know what we should be doing on that, but I'm
that's-
not comfortable leaving it in if we haven't made any decision based on what is the principal amount we've got in here, 4 million? And I think we know that number's off.
yeah, I don't know, do you know the principal amount
I
that made
think,
that?
I think it's still the $4 million that was originally,
Candidly,
budgeted for.
I'd rather just see these two red line items with no dollars in it because we haven't got a clue what we're doing yet. Are we
So
gonna
we-
renovate? Are we gonna do new? Is it gonna be this year, next year?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't see how we're gonna get this done, especially if we've got kind of belt and suspenders. We've got some renovation dollars for 26. We're not gonna be borrowing money, I don't think, 4 million. I mean, I don't think we're anywhere close to a decision on this yet, and it's one of our biggest ticket items.
I like the idea of kind of seeing how it affects the budget if we go one way or the other. But maybe we have it just as a separate, if we chose option A, this is how it would look. If we chose B, this is how, but like off, not actually in the budget, maybe just as a,
How
'cause
about,
it's
how-
not something it's something that's gonna need to be done at some point.
how about we,
So I feel like it needs to be,
how about we keep the line item in, but move the payments to start in 27, so it doesn't impact us this year until we know what it is?
so,
That's what they currently are at 27.
That's in 26.
yeah, it starts in
Yeah,
It
20.
says 2026 City Hall renovation.
188.
Right, but that's this current year's budget. So the new budget, if you're looking at J, there shouldn't be anything there for in line
Oh, I
J.
must be a version
Yeah.
behind.
Yeah, we must be.
Ours does have 188 in J.
In J?
Yep.
Okay, I don't have that.
So it should be,
It
it should be
has
moved to
It has an H
K.
and J. So you're right,
Okay.
you're actually right where, what we just
Okay.
suggested.
Okay, so those are in K now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is on our kind of hit list of needing direction from council. You know, what we still haven't closed the loop with Trident and the architects on kind of next steps. It's been just a lingering piece of business. I guess either way, I mean, if we don't do something new, we have a pretty big price tag on getting this building up to snuff. That's probably, and I can't remember exactly the number, but I think that might be the 4 million.
That was the 4 million.
It's just to keep this building.
That's just the that was their early, without getting behind the sheetrock to see what's really there,
Yeah.
kind of number. And,
So we need some numbers in there, because either path is going to cost something. So we'll leave it as the 4,
But keep it in 27.
keep it in 27,
And-
and then have some discussions on if that's the correct path or not.
That's
But we
probably-
do
that's-
have that 250,000 in the
Correct.
previous.
Yeah, so next year,
We do
that-
have money allocated for
Like it's a
this
fixed
building.
money.
to kind of Band-Aid this building till 27.
Yeah.
So with all these changes, do you know when we might see an updated version or? No, I'm just asking.
It. We have a workshop tonight.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah, it won't be-
I'm not looking for it tonight.
Yeah.
That's kind of.
So and I think the other changes from the other committees are in tonight that we'll
Yes.
kind of touch on. We'll just say, this committee had changes to these. We'll work through those for the,
Right. This is, I mean,
and I
I
think,
don't think it's many changes. I think I can make this, because most of these changes that you've talked about, they're already in what you're gonna see tonight. It's just some of the items that.
definitely
we
for the,
Discussed.
the,
They can be updated fairly quickly.
the calendar has a dedicated budget workshop in March.
Great.
So we'll have all this, have tonight's feedback and all the committee's feedback for that workshop.
Because by that time, we will have met with all the department heads to discuss the operating budget.
Yeah, we'll have the
and-
operational.
And we'll have a clean slate to know where we project revenues will be and where we project our expenses to be for the upcoming year. So we'll have a better picture of where our fund balance will end up with all these changes. So that'll definitely be ready for the
Yeah,
budget.
March.
Yep,
All right.
that's it.
All right. So last order of business is next meeting, Tuesday, March 4th at 9 a.m. We good with that?
Works for everybody?
All right.
Motion to adjourn?
Second. All in favor? Aye. Off the record, Ed. A long time, 11 something.
Oh, we haven't met one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It was time.
That's it. Well, you didn't need to be here for the first part. Steven knew we were talking about it. He called during the meeting 20 minutes ago. Maybe he was watching.
Oh, Stephen called you?
So Carrie, the
About to take us off there?